Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of Cheap Shots. On this episode of Cheap Shots, we're talking about cost-effective ways of storing your miniatures when you're not playing with them. Not using them for war games, the question usually pops up is, what do you do with all the miniatures that you have out in your battlefield? How you go about storing these things? And so on today's episode, we're going to talk about some cost-saving ways that you can actually go about doing that. Now, there are a couple of options out there that are available by large companies as well as manufacturers who make some of these items. So I'm going to show you that real quick and pull up my little web browser here. So here you are, as you can see, we're on Google real quick. I just typed in real fast miniatures wargaming cases in the search engine. I just clicked on the shopping option just to show the different prices that are out there for different things that you need. And as you can see, just right off the bat, they're pretty expensive. They can be quite pricey if you're just a brand new war gamer getting into the hobby and you're looking for a way to store it. It could be quite expensive. For example, if you look at some of these, for example, like this one here, it's actually used for cosmetics, is actually what it's used for, but you could actually use it for miniature storage if you want to, and that runs you $151.98. So, pretty expensive there. Now we have, of course, the good old-fashioned Games Workshop Citadel ones. As you can see here, we have these two different cases. One's called a Crusader case, another one's called a Battle case. What they have inside of them are these large plastic bins. They have these little foam sheets inside where you put your miniatures inside of, kind of like that. Now running about $70.55. And as you can see, it just kind of, just skyrockets from there in terms of prices. You can see here, one here is a storage box that has this battle foam inside of it that you can put things in. That one's pretty expensive as well. $105 here, $111 there, $40, $100 here for one that has a carrying strap on it. This one's like a little tray that you can get, which is kind of cool, but at the same time though, it has an open top though, so dust gets on these really easily. You got battle foam for $19.49, all kinds of different things as well. So as you can see here, the prices on these things can really stack up after a while, especially if you're trying to store a lot of miniatures like we do for my studio. We have a ton of miniatures in this channel, and it costs you a lot of money. So we're going to show you a really quick cost-effective way of doing this by showing you a homemade version that we use and some of the prices involved with that one. So with that being said, let's go and get that, and we'll show you that in a second. Alright, so instead of spending hundreds of dollars in order for you to store your miniatures by buying battle foam and really expensive cases in order to hold them all in, this is the CheapSkate method I'm showing you guys today, how to save money on your miniature storage. As you can see here, it's just a typical plastic container. You can get these at pretty much any hardware store. I'm going to turn around real quick so you can see the label real fast. I'm going to zoom in here. As you can see, it's a hefty container. It's about 34 quarts, also 32.1 liters for all of our friends across the pond who use the metric system. The dimensions on this thing is 23.9 inches wide, also 60.7 centimeters, 16.8 inches deep, also 42.6 centimeters, and 6.6 inches high, 16.7 centimeters in height as well. So you can see it's a pretty simple, just plastic container. It's got two little locks on the sides here, so that way you can use it to kind of lock up your items. We're going to get this open real fast. And inside, we're going to remove out the cap. As you can see here, this is where I store the miniatures at. It's pretty simple. And as you can see, it holds the entirety of the army, as well as all the movement trays that they're based on as well. And so all it really is just a sheet of MDF that's on the bottom here that I put on the bottom of the container, and I cover the entire top of it with sheet magnets that you can get. I use magnetic vent covers because they're super cheap, and you can get a bunch of them for like really low bucks. I spray some spray adhesive on a piece of 1/4 inch thick MDF that's cut to the base size of the container. I glue the sheet magnets on top of it, and then of course I put my movement trays on top. So I'm going to put the camera down real quick. I'm going to pull out the container, pull out the contents of the container, put on top of it, so that way you guys can see exactly how it looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, I have the container now with my tray with the little magnets on it. I pulled out the container, put it on top of the lid so that you guys can see it. Like I said before, it's just a piece of 1/4 inch thick MDF board that I just glued down some sheet magnets to as well. And the reason why is so that way it doesn't shift or move around when you're moving it around out of your shelves or your container closets. You can see I can just shift this around. All the miniatures stay directly magnetized on top of the sheet magnet. And the reason why I'm going to pick up this Hellblaster Volley again so you can see it real quick. The reason why is because underneath the bases of all of my movement trays, I have another thin slice of sheet magnet glued to the bottom of it. And it goes directly down, and it actually gets magnetized. The nice thing about using magnetic vent covers is that they're all polarized to each other, so that way they can kind of stick to each other, they don't repel each other, and of course you just hold your miniatures that way. And so this is a really cheap and cost-effective way of doing it. So you can see I have all my movement trays with all my units on them. They're all magnetized at the bottom of it and put directly onto this container. That way you can store your miniatures on shelves and also in bins, and you can also move around. And the best part about it is if you want to take your miniatures to the game store, you can put this bin in the back of your car, drive it to your local game store, and still be able to play. Now, it won't, of course, do you any good if you take the entire container and flip it upside down. Obviously, it's not going to hold everything doing that way. But for the most part, though, for general shifts and bumps that you'll have on the road driving your car, it does a pretty good job. Now, if you're going to take your miniatures, of course, overseas or by flying or something like that, you might want to rethink your storage options. But if you're looking for a way just to casually store your miniatures, so that way they're out of the way and you can access them real quick, this is a good way of doing it. For example, these containers are nice because they're nice and narrow in terms of height. So you can slide this container under a bed if you need to, or under some furniture if you have to, if you don't have closet space for it. That's exactly what I do, so it makes it really simple to store your miniatures. And of course, it keeps them dust free as well because the container lid closes it and doesn't allow any dust in either. So it's a really cost-effective and cheap method of doing it. Alright, so now with that being said, let's talk about the CheapSkate method for this method of storing your miniatures. So in the end, you get to buy that plastic container that we talked about and the dimensions that you need, which is of course 23.9 inches wide, 16.86 inches deep, 6.6 inches in height. It's going to run you about $6 at your local hardware store as well. You're also going to need a sheet of 1/4-inch MDF. Like I said before, it's going to cost you about $10 to get it done. To buy a big sheet to cut the size that you need it at. Buy a pack of sheet magnets or magnetic vent covers. That runs you about $5 there. Maybe a can of spray adhesive, which costs you another $5. In the end, that runs you about $26 in total. That's what's going to cost you to store an army. So as you see, that bin is large enough to store a 3,000 point Empire army, and that's exactly how we store all of our miniatures in my studio. We just put all of them in those bins, we stack them on some cheap shelves, and that's how we pretty much go about doing it. Or, put them underneath your bed or wherever the case may be, whatever's easiest for you. So the next time you're thinking about buying miniatures storage and thinking about buying some battle foam or some really expensive miniatures case and costing hundreds of dollars in order to do that, just remember, there's a really cheap way of doing it as well. And like I said before, the nice part about it is you can transport it to your local game store, to your friend's house, wherever the case may be, and it's going to get the job done. And the best part about it is not as expensive as the other stuff. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Blogger for all these great news for the hobby aspect of our channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.